Hey everybody, welcome to Trendy Trading. Let's go ahead and get started with this broad market analysis for this week. Let's go ahead and look at the calendar. So we will be open all week. So looking at the 29th of November into the 3rd of December. Don't forget, we also trade futures. So I'll be trading futures on Sunday night if we do get that set up. Let's go ahead and start with the SPY, the Qs, DIA, and IWM. All four of those are tradable plans. So the way I want to set these up is I want to put OCO orders in. Okay, and all you guys, Trendy members, you know how to do this. And if you don't, please go to your dashboard there on the pro member side and watch that video. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. I will be doing an extra video this weekend just to kind of give you some insight really quickly exactly how I'll be setting those up. And we'll talk about it a little bit here as well. And the reason why I'm going to use OCO orders is I don't want to put too much focus on watching every tick for tick. I trust my levels. I see my levels and discuss those levels with you in advance. So we basically wait for price to either get into those levels before we execute. And the OCO just kind of helps it to become a little bit more mechanical and less emotional for you. All right, so let's go ahead and start there, and then we'll finish off with TLT, TNX, DXY, which is the dollar, the SKU, which is your hedge funds, looking at sentiment there, and then P-call, put to call ratio, the VIX volatility index, and then we're going to look at the monthly and weekly on the ES, NASDAQ, oil, and then Bitcoin to finish off, okay? So to familiarize yourself here on my charts, we're looking at a weekly chart on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side, we have the daily. If you're paying attention to this, scrolling up here at the top, this is my current account, what I'm holding. It's not much. I think I'm coming into this week with only about 5% 5% allocation, 95, 97% cash. So please keep that into mind here. All right, so SPY, we use what's called a neutral strategy. And before we start here, I'm going to show you how I trade that. It's really straightforward, but I'm going to take you to a whiteboard, okay, just like this, and show you this is a neutral. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and write neutral in here. And what I do is I use Fibonacci's, okay, and I use my proprietary scripts. I use EMA clouds. We use supply and demand. I did school with OTA, or Online Trading Academy. Spent some time there, learned some valuable lessons, put a lot of stuff together, and came up with this highly probability setup that makes this strategy for the SPYs, the Qs, DIA, IWM, gold, TLT, all of those pretty straightforward to trade off of, okay? So what I'm looking for is if price breaks out of the neutral to the top side. Within this neutral, I could do two different things. So the entire box is my risk. So right here, let's go ahead and type this out, RISK. And what I'm saying is this level and this level here, if you were subtract the two, you get an amount. And then looking at the option, or if you're trading equity, it doesn't matter. But if you're trading the option, look at the delta of the option and then just multiply it times that risk, and you can understand about how much you could lose during a trading session. That does not apply to if you hold overnight. We all know that with risk, with options, what you pay is the risk that you're setting yourself up for, okay? So then you're going to see that I have targets above, okay? What's really important is that any target that I have above is a trim area or where I'd like to sell, okay? So it's going to look sort of like this, all right? So we're going to have typically 3 levels to the upside and 3 levels to the downside. And what I'd like to do is go long on the break of the upper neutral line. And I'm looking to take several contracts and then trim into the upper levels. And especially coming into this week because, the markets come down, it's going to be volatile. So I really want to concentrate on taking profits quickly. And if they do really well, let's say over 100%, then I want to go ahead and hold on to some runners in case the market wants to continue in the direction that I take my trade. Okay, so again, trimming in this area here. So I'm going to go ahead and write that out. so everybody understands. Because what you'll notice on a lot of my charts, whether it's the SPY or something you've noticed from before on Twitter, that my levels really work well. And you don't want to be the person that's not trimming and that euphoria takes over, and then you find yourself on something like this, okay? Basically like last week, to be honest with you, and we'll show you that here shortly. So again, trimming into here, most likely see a pullback. If the pullback does not break below this neutral, then I'm going to stay in. If for some reason we break above, what I'm going to do, wherever I determine my stop, okay? Now, if I'm swinging, my stops go underneath the bottom neutral. If I'm day trading to potentially swing trading, then my stops are going to go at the trendy edges, and we'll talk about those levels when we get back to the charts. Let's go ahead and hypothetically say that I trim at target 1, which is going to be this first blue line. What I'm going to do is take that stop wherever it is and then place it underneath the first target. If things work out in my direction, then what happens is then I get to trim here. So my second trim is going to come in right here. And then I'm just going to move that stop right back to target 2. Okay. And believe it or not, this can work out very well for you. What happens is what is resistance can turn into support, and those stops can really work out in your favor. Okay. Now the same thing happens. What if we open up neutral and price breaks down? And we are specifically talking about this week, folks. So we really closed the session on a low on Friday. And so I think there's going to be a lot of volatility in the market. I think we are getting close to a support level, but we'll get all into that here soon. But it is important that you apply that sentiment to this blueprint for this week. Okay. And my overall sentiment is that we could still see a little bit of pull, but if that pull brings me into support, I'm not looking at shorting. I would much rather be buying the support levels. So for example, let's say that we open up at my target 1, not in the neutral, but we actually open at a lower level. I'm going to be watching very closely on a smaller time frame for this area to be support. And if I go long off of this trade, what happens is I just simply use a stop underneath this lower target. I'm looking to trade up to any line that's above price. So that would be this line trim, this line trim, this line trim, and so forth. Okay, let's go ahead and get into the actual charts here. So again, on the left is your weekly, on the right is your daily. This is the neutral strategy. I try to make it pretty straightforward. You can see there's a green line for me to remember to go long and a red line if I choose to go short. Now, in most circumstances, I always concentrate on the overall trend. Now, trendy scripts, they're calculated to look back all the way since the inception of the market or on specific time frames that I'm trading. So I know, hey, if I want to trade on a monthly, right now we're still in a very extremely bullish market, and the trend is overall extremely bullish. One thing that I want to really look at this week is that the weekly has come back into the 9 EMA, and this is very, very important. So please wait until the end of this video to go into why this is so important. Okay, this has really saved us over the entire year, and this in most circumstances has been a great buy the dip opportunity. All right. So here's your neutral. Pretty straightforward. I already explained how I want to trade this. Let's look at the banners. Overall, our trend is green. Last week obviously was extremely bearish with that great pullback that we had, which I think is a great, again, buying opportunity. Notice that price did come down into the 9 EMA, pretty close anyways, and we stopped there. The closing after hours, price still moved down, guys, almost $2 here. So it's actually at 457. So we're underneath the red. If we get some kind of pop in futures, then I would expect we open up in the neutral. Again, if we open up towards 455.55, I'll be looking for a buying opportunity. Okay. All right, over here on the right-hand side, you're going to notice that this is the daily, so it looks a little bit different. We are in the cloud. So again, over here on the weekly, we're just touching the top of this EMA. And again, I'll tell you why that's so important here soon. But over here in the daily, we are absolutely inside this cloud. Listen, when price is inside the cloud, it's turbulent, right? You have to be looking at taking profits very quickly. It's not the best conditions if you're new at trading. You tend to get really chopped up, and if you don't know what you're doing, this can give you a very terrible week to be trading in. Okay, so the easier trade, in my opinion, is when the daily starts to get back over the top of that cloud, or if you're thinking about shorting when price is actually closing under the cloud. And in both circumstances, guys, we're still in the cloud over here, so it's more of a neutral. And on the left-hand side, this is looking like a possible support level buy here, depending on how we open on Monday. Okay. Some other things I want to go ahead and point out is that this 618 of the current trend, we are still going to stay trading to the upside as long as 444.38 can hold. Now, if for some reason that 618 breaks, I'm going to have even a better buying opportunity right around this formation right here. Okay. So again, we're not going to worry about that unless for some reason the market pulls us back into that area this week. Okay. All right. My overall sentiment on the SPY is the weekly looks a lot better than the daily. Okay. And because of this 9 EMA, I really like the opportunity to buy here depending on how we open up on Monday morning. Let's go ahead and go into the Qs. You can see here the neutral. Again, same setup. Go back to the beginning of the video. Pretty straightforward, about 392.18. I want to be taking the trade to the upside and trimming into 394.15, 396.48, 398.60. Okay, to the downside, if for some reason we break down below this red level, notice that after market, we're only down, well, close to $2 here too, which would put us, it says 390.88. So we're still in the neutral, okay? But if we break down below this red level, this could end up looking a lot like the SPY, where we're coming back to test the 9 EMA. So again, very important. And when you put the two together, remember there's a little bit of room that the SPY still had to come down in order to touch that 9 EMA, and the QQQ is still not there. Notice also on the daily, compared to the SPY, the Qs have just barely come into the cloud, but they are in the middle of the cloud, but could still pull back quite a bit before we start to find buyers. Now, the Qs have been really strong this year, so they don't have to come all the way back to this 9 EMA. Matter of fact, notice here, it looks a bit extended, but a retest or very close to this retest, we could see a very strong move up towards the end of the year. This is the pivot low that's very important. This one here, let me go ahead and actually, I'm going to go ahead and just put a little circle here, okay? And then I want you to look at this 9 EMA, okay? They're very confluent. And again, if for some reason price does come into here, I would be looking for that rounding bottom, okay, to come in over the next 2 weeks. And then you could see this move into the end of year. Okay. Again, neutral strategy, don't put too much emphasis on it. Again, I like to be really mechanical. So on my OCO trades, it's greater than or equal to, and then I set it up where the option price, if it increases by X%, it will execute the trade. And then it also has a trailing stop and a hard stop attached to it. So I don't have to do anything hands off, just trading my levels. Okay. So that's the QQQ. Biggest thing here, just look at the levels. Overall trend is extremely bullish. Last week was extremely bearish. So long-term trend, very bullish. Short-term, bearish. Okay. All right, let's go into DIA. All right, so your Dow Jones or the diamonds, this is an inside and down. Okay, and inside and downs like to travel into inside and ups, which is about right here where it stopped. So again, like the SPY, we could be looking at a potential buy. Now, these are a little bit different. DIA and IWM are a bit sluggish. Are they showing us the way, or is everything just synergistically coming together into buy zones where you can see this really nice rally into the year end? We don't know yet, okay? Don't forget also, though, that your monthly candles are getting ready to close here in the next couple days. All right. So again, DIA pretty close to a buying level. Again, just follow the neutral strategy here for me. If we break down below the red, I could choose to go short for a couple bucks to the downside, but I would expect support down here, probably within your first two white lines to the downside. Okay. All right, so over here on IWM, like I said, inside and down, price traveled to an inside and up, actually a double inside and up. We found a little bit of support there by Friday, and you can see we got a nice little bounce there. So again, Dow and the IWM came into a level of support. They bounced a little bit. The SPY sold off at the end of the day, but it wasn't quite there at the 9 EMA or right at my levels. So please, please keep that in mind. Now, when we put all of these together, notice that we have the trendy edges on here. Okay, these are called what I call the monthly trendy edges. These are for swing trades. Okay, so just because they come into that level, I can't expect some sort of return that day. Now, a lot of times it can happen, but these are for a longer term trade for me. So what I like to see is that price flushes or at least comes into that pink line down there at the bottom. And when it does, if it flushes and then reclaims, I want to see higher highs off of that. It doesn't mean I'll wait. I just want to see, and that gives me the conviction that we're starting to round out on a higher time frame. So notice real quick before we move on. SPY, notice the pink line. Okay, we're down here around 455.81. Notice on the Qs, the pink line, we're still some distance away from it, all the way down here towards 382. Okay, these are levels I'd like to see tested. I'm not sure they're going to be, and that's okay because I have the neutral strategy. DIA, same thing, pink line all the way down here towards 340. And then IWM, the lower edge, looking at or around that 218 level. Okay. So please, please jot those down. Those are very important levels. And if for some reason the market continues to pull back and you're getting concerned, just remember those levels. Let's go ahead and go into gold, GLD. I did have to make a new blueprint for this week. So this is what it looks like. Again, overall trend. Notice as soon as we pull this up, things look different, right? So you see a lot of yellow and red. This is just not my thing, right? I want to stay away from this. This is not very trendy. I want to be concentrating either on all red or maybe all neutral, and you could be selling credit spreads around that. But I want to be looking at things that are trending. All right, and this is not very trendy. So again, what I mean by that is if you take a trade, there's a lot of speculation there, and you definitely want to be concentrating on taking profits quickly because really at the end of the day, you're just going to get chopped up. Okay, look at that. Look at that action, right? Just absolutely sideways. All right, but those are your levels for GLD. Let's go ahead and move down to TLT. All right, now this one, I did not change the blueprint this week, okay? And the reason why is I want to take into consideration that whole saying, what was resistance becomes support. So if you're long TLT, okay, the bonds, this is tradable as well. So our team here, if they were taking this trade, notice here, as soon as we broke down, we found buyers, okay? And if you took the trade on a breakout of the neutral, then we are trimming into T1. And then as long as it stays support, we're looking for 150.89. And you could see, this was a gap up, by the way. All right, this was a gap up. And then boom, almost into T2. And we want to see, can we hold 149.26? If we can, expect 150.89, then 151.82. And if price holds 151.82, possibly some huge rally into or around 155. Okay. I'm not going to trade this, just so I could be very clear. I'm not interested in trading TLT as of right now. It's still a sideways trade for me. You can see it's just kind of locked in here. Okay. All right, moving on down, looking at the Treasury, I did not change this blueprint either. What I want to see here is that the Treasury, I don't want it to push up. This is exactly what we expected as TNX pushed into the trendy edges. It rejected, it pulled back. We should see beta names, typically they move as the TNX is pulling back. But I do like to say this, when the market drops, it drops. I don't look for anything for safe haven. I'm not one of those traders who's going to say I'm going to buy gold just because the market's pulling back. Okay. I just want to be on the put side and be on the right side of the trend. Okay. All right. So TNX, you got your levels there. My biggest thing here, we just watch this. Obviously, you don't trade it, but we're just watching it. If it continues to push down into 14, 13, we might see some really big moves and some higher beta names, Amazon, Tesla, Google, things like that a little bit later on in the week. DXY, the dollar. Okay, so I've been pretty bullish on this. And of course, You can see here that I did not change the blueprint. I just want to show you again how well these charts work. So the dollar, right? You could trade this over in Forex or something like that, but we don't do anything with it. I just use the instrument to gauge the market. If the dollar is looking to break out, then I'm being very cautious because of everything else I'm showing you, right? We were extended last week. I said the word caution over and over and over. And matter of fact, everything kind of came into existence, right? And because of this, look at the dollar. It pushes up very strongly over the top neutral. It hits my first target and boom, it comes down. This is how all of these blueprints are supposed to work. And they work like that a lot. Okay, so very important levels here. Please take those into consideration. What do I expect for the dollar this week? If it goes and stays below the 96.25, then I think it rolls back over into 95.498 and 95.12. If it stays at least 2 days over 96.25, we could be pushing up towards that 96.82 again, and also in a 97.227. All right, looking at the skew, so your hedge funds, what are they thinking? Are we moving into a two standard deviation move? Meaning, let me just give you a clue here. If for some reason the SPY moves $9 to $10 a week, and things are getting really dangerous, and your hedge funds are really pulling off their risk, then they are looking at probabilities of a two standard deviation, which means the SPY could move $20 to the opposite side, meaning down in most cases. Okay, and you saw that on Friday. I think it was just over $10. Okay, all right. So the skew. Look at the what I have written here, and you can put this on your chart as well. It's going to help a lot. When the skew is in this area, you're thinking protection. Okay. Especially as it moves over the 144, 145 level, you want to be thinking protection. If it's down here, obviously it's chop, iron condors, risk on. What we want to see is that your fear and greed goes to extreme fear. And everybody's getting super scared. Let the market jump on the put side. Let your retail traders get scared, right? And what we're looking for is that skew is dropping, things are coming into support, and I want to be buying when most people are extremely fearful. Okay, and this chart really helps you out and kind of gauges what people are thinking right now. So they're pretty fearful. You could see that by looking at the skew. So the annotation on here says, protect yourself. All right, and for me, that just means smaller allocation while we are in this range. Okay. All right, so over here on P-Call, I'm not going to go too far into this. I personally feel like the P-Call has not been the greatest instrument this year to gauge things off of, but it is saying protect yourself. All right, so we'll go ahead and move on. Volatility index, the VIX, this is pretty straightforward. As long as the VIX is coming to my lower levels, we are cautious. We talked about that last week as well, which was down, in these levels around 15 and some change. And you can see, boom, it took off. And once it got over this level here at the top level, it was very cautious. And you can see it all came into existence. This is exactly what we expected into this week. And so I feel like, we played it pretty well. It was not an easy week. So, don't be hard on yourself. It's a lot to put together. And if you're not used to this kind of information, get used to it, because this is going to save you big time. You might not make a lot of money because you might sit out on the sidelines, but it's a lot better than losing a lot of money. You might try your hand at options and equity during this time, but I'm telling you, allocation is the key. All I need to know is whether or not I'm waving a yellow flag, a red flag, or is it a green flag. I'm telling you right now, coming into this week, for right now, we are waving a yellow flag. And I say a yellow flag because that red flag was last week, being careful, okay, big time, and now we might see ourselves coming into a little bit of support. All right. So volatility index, I'm not doing anything over here. Again, it's just an instrument to kind of help you during your trading. ES futures, this is very important. I like to look at the monthly and the weekly. Here in the room, I went ahead and told our members, what I'm looking for is possibly trading MES. And the reason why I'm choosing to do that is because I still expect some volatility. All right. We'll get to that here in a second. So monthly, you can see here we have a topping wick. This topping wick is very, very important. Topping wicks for me, that means that the bears are in control right away. It's just like if you were to see that wick from the downside or on the bottom of the candle, it lets me know that bulls are in control. All right, so for right now, my overall projection for the month, and I know it's close to the end of the month, but you got to understand, see this chart right here? I put this chart out for our members in December 2020. Everything worked out perfectly. Okay. The bigger picture played out just as I expected back almost 1 year ago, folks. Okay. I can't make this stuff up. Same levels, same boxes, everything. Okay. And we came very close to my very last target for my projection of 2021. And now you can see we pull back and we're going inside. What's really important about this candle, let me open this up just a tad bit more so you understand. When we go back and look at the market, we haven't had an inside month since, let's see, January. All right, so almost a year, folks. This is not an inside candle right here. This is an inside candle, okay? We haven't had one in almost a year. And what the inside candle in most cases does is it sets us up for a very explosive inside and up or inside and down. So if we stay inside, we're really not going to understand where we're going, okay, until we pass a certain level. So very important to tune in after December, okay? So after December. So once this candle closes, I'm going to have those exact levels that we will need in order to follow our conviction into whether or not it's going to be an upside trade or a downside trade, okay? So ES looking like an inside candle, topping wicks, just take caution. Now over here on the right hand side, again, we're looking at monthly on the left and weekly on the right. Sorry about that. And so on the right hand side, your weekly came into the 9 EMA. I absolutely love that. And again, once we get finished with this, I'm going to take you into Trading View and show you a cleaner chart and make you understand why this is so important, okay? So ES, this looks a lot better on the weekly, and potentially, like I said, we could be coming into support. The green lines here are my support lines, 45.65 by 45.22. We also have the trendy edge down here, just like the SPY. Okay, ES, every 10 points, about at $1 in the SPY. All right, just so you understand. Looking here for potential support if we come into this trendy edge on Sunday night. Okay, I'm definitely interested in going long if we can reclaim this green line. So say we flush, let me go ahead and draw that out for you. Say we flush it and then we come back to reclaim it. I'm interested in long, as you could be seeing some sort of rounding bottom over the next couple weeks. All right. Now, if these don't hold, let's just say we flush through them. That's what's awesome. I'm not going to tell you exactly my every move, but for some reason, if we break down and flush, I'm not going to go long. Right? There's no reclaims. There's nothing. I'm going to wait for this green box. All right. Straightforward. All right. So over here on the NQ, all right, your NASDAQ, this one for the monthly, this worked out very well. So just like the ES, I gave this a month in advance. You can see that it worked very well. Price pushed up into the red box. It pulled back. That's what we expected. Red, be cautious. Look for sells. Green, start to think about risk on and look for buying. Okay. So your monthly, again, topping wick, just like the ES, not inside yet. But if it starts to break down below 15,863, then we're looking at an inside month. And again, at the end of the month, we'll have some levels that are really going to help us into the year end. Okay. NASDAQ on the weekly over here, you can see also gave this far in advance. Price pushed up into the red box. Our members here know to be cautious. Price pulls back. It came all the way into the green box. So did we come into a level of support, folks? We're going to see when Sunday night opens. If we flush, what I'm looking for, notice I have a level here of 15,863. Not only is that inside of last month's candle, but it's also confluent with the weekly 9 EMA. Okay. All right, guys. So on oil futures, holy smokes. Like me personally, I don't think that I've witnessed a $10, almost $11 move in one day. The delta on that is pretty insane. So if you were able to catch that short, that's pretty amazing. I did not. But we are coming close to a level of demand here on the weekly. On the monthly, we came into the 9 EMA. All right. From a bigger picture, bulls need above 69.54. If we continue to stay underneath that 9 EMA on the monthly, okay, and below this level of the 23.6, expect 63.65 by about 59.74. Okay. On the right hand side in the weekly, we're just barely in the cloud. It's holding on for dear life. We got the 44 EMA down here. That is confluent with the green box. We could be looking for a nice relief bounce, okay? If we come into that green box and then reclaim the 67.26, I'm looking for a move possibly back into 69.48 by 71. There's a lot of money to be made here, especially if we get a strong bounce, okay? So I'll definitely be watching. I'll be looking on a lower time frame, looking for a trendy buy signal. And if I get that trendy buy signal, then I'll be looking, like I said, to go long. I keep it pretty straightforward. If my buy signals pop up, I have a strategy where I just take the trade. I have a certain bracket order that I put in. It's very mechanical. Okay. That's oil futures overall sentiment. Wow, that was a shocker. But we did roll over. We did roll over a long time ago. We couldn't get over the trendy edge. These are resistance. We got very close to the red box. And then we just continue to make lower highs, lower lows. And here we are right into a little demand area. Okay, so again, I'm looking for a relief bounce. I'll be watching these levels very closely. Bitcoin, all right, Bitcoin. Crypto traders, everybody's so hype on Bitcoin. Everybody has like their favorite crypto trader. I'm here to tell you right now that trendy levels, they're hard to beat. We have a crypto room now. I would put, if I was going up against, anyone out there with their philosophy on trading, charts do not change. I can't tell you how many times I hear people say something like, well, crypto's different. It trades differently. No, it doesn't. I'm here to tell you right now, the trendy levels, the demand levels, the supply levels, the EMAs, it's all exactly the same. What's different is that you spend your time listening to a lot of retail traders or to a lot of different opinions. And what it does is it puts you in the wrong state of mind. Try to become mechanical. Just focus on the levels. Stop worrying about the hype. Stop listening to all these flashy traders, who are becoming popular, who really, honestly, where did they come from? Right? Where were they just weeks or months before they started getting really popular? Did they have any sort of history with their levels? Right? Do they have any sort of actual methodology? And I'll tell you that 8 times out of 10, they don't. All right, so 80% probability, most likely, that you are following somebody that has no kind of historical background of actual levels that work. Okay. All right, so just listen up here. Bitcoin, we called it from the top before, and we called it all the way down into this big short here, and then we called it on the way back up, and here we are. Okay, so listen up. On the monthly, just like I was showing you before, the Bitcoin loves to come back into the 9 EMA. It's very consistent actually for the last like 6 or 7 months that it loves the 9 EMA on the monthly. Are we coming all the way back to 46.931? Maybe. Okay, maybe. So this is what we're looking at. If price cannot, start to bid at or around, let's see what my notes were here. Just give me 1 second. All right, so weekly price fell to close over the trendy edge, and you can see that pink line and the blue line here to the right-hand side, and is now a reverse, what we call a reverse ACDC. All right, and if price falls under 51,841, I expect 47,000 by 45,000. Overall, this is a neutral play right now for me. Okay, so remember those levels. Again, if it falls under 51,841, I expect 47 by 4,500. That is a higher probability. I'm not short Bitcoin. I like to trade the micro Bitcoin futures. They're great if you're trying to learn how to trade Bitcoin. But yeah, the micros. All right. What I'm basically looking at is, you see this green and red arrow? Okay. So this is a big deal if we start to close underneath this red arrow here. All right, so far it's holding, but again, if we close under there, we have a high probability price wants to come down to the trendy edge. And again, I give you those numbers above. Okay. So that is Bitcoin. That is the broad market analysis. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to me. But wait, right before we leave, why is the 9 EMA so important? Well, if we go back and we look at the entire year, and by the way, guys, this is TradingView. I absolutely love this platform. We have finally been able to showcase everything that we do on here. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to throw on some edges just like this. And you could see right here, I had this level of support on SPY, but the big focus here is that I want you to look at this cloud right here. This is your 9 EMA that's on top of that cloud. A lot of traders, I'm going to say this once again, a lot of traders out there showcasing, sorry, my nose is itchy all of a sudden. This happened last week. A lot of traders, popular traders out there showcasing the EMA cloud. Listen, folks, that is like the Pinto of EMA clouds. This thing right here is the Lamborghini. There's a lot of code behind this. This has my buy signals and short signals inside of it. So it's not about just crossing EMAs or any of that old school stuff. We are concentrating on Fibonacci, supply and demand, all kinds of cool stuff. And then what we're looking for is for these little green arrows. And see, every time these little green arrows come up, I'm looking to buy. All right. Just so you understand, there's a red arrow. All right. There's a red arrow here. But concentrate on how many times over the last year that price has come down, okay, into the 9 EMA and found support. This is a really big deal. Matter of fact, every time it's come into the 9 EMA, and it's come back to show you that bulls are in control. It is the best buying opportunity by far this entire year. The only time it did not work right away is right here, folks. Right there. You had to stay in the hole or in the cloud for about almost 2.5 weeks right here. Okay, 2.5 weeks. But once it reclaimed, it was time to get long. Okay, so the question is, as I wrap things up, the SPY, as I said, very close to a support level. QQQ, not exactly close, but is the strongest of the four. DIA into support. IWM into support. It makes me feel like the SPY could flush just a little bit, but on a reclaim could be an amazing buying opportunity. Please, whatever you do, always understand that allocation is the most important. If you're trading options, go ahead and say to yourself as soon as you take a trade, this is what you can lose. If you pay $200 for the position, you can lose $200 when you wake up in the morning. You pay $1,000 for it, you can lose $1,000. But there's so much opportunity here, and options are amazing because they help you leverage into positions. Okay. I hope you really enjoyed this. If you did, give us a like, give us a retweet. Please check out trendytrading.co. If you have any questions, reach out to me. I'm always here to help you. Thank you so much and have a great weekend.